This is the Fifth Estate Winning Headlines, your media police post. In this segment, we summarize some of the headlines that you might have missed this morning. But we also take a look at the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country. Today is the 12th of June 2019 and I am 2J.
I am 2.
And I am Miss K, your host. Again, in case you missed it, this is Winning Headlines. Let's take a look at today's headlines.
Before you move. Happy birthday, dear Julie.
Dear Julie. Happy birthday, dear Julie.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Dear 2J.
Thank you. I'm old enough.
And those are the birthday wishes from the set. Today's headlines.
Yes.
Happy birthday, 2J.
Happy 60th birthday.
Ooh. It is a scam to ask a woman's age. We both got it.
You guys, back to regularly scheduled programming.
Dubai fake gold scam inquiry hits dead end.
Yeah.
Daily Nation, Magoha rules out school fees increase and the Standard. Troubled life of intruder shot at State House. I say we start here because we began here yesterday and I think it's a follow-on story. An old one, nonetheless.
Yeah, I think what's quite interesting is how quickly this story started and ended.
Yes.
Not to say that it's not sad, but I think that the Standard was wrong to continue talking about this. I think it's...
Absolutely. I think he's sick. Let it remain that way. Let's move on to other issues.
I agree. Can we toss it
very fast?
Immediately?
Yes, a quick question. We have a 3-part criteria that we use to break down the headlines for you. We ask ourselves 3 questions. Is the headline topical or is it speculative? Is it repetitive or groundbreaking? And finally, is it thoughtful or just plain lazy? I say it's a lazy. And repetitive.
Yes, agreed. All right.
Yes.
Magoha rules out school fees increase. Parents bear the pain of higher education expenses as teachers lament huge shortfall in government funding.
I told you, when they run out of KINOTI stories, they go to education.
Yeah.
Now they're telling us what Magoha said. So what should we do?
I don't know. I feel like he's on the headlines every day. I'm tired.
It's on rotation.
Yeah.
So
and none of it is new. I feel like it's the same repetitive stories. They're not lifting our veil of ignorance.
I think we should begin to have a conveyor belt here. So just go, wow,
here we go, bye.
Toss it. Finally, on to KINOTI's stories. Dubai fake gold scam inquiry hits dead end.
Weren't you right?
Yes, we were. I think we said this.
He was going to Dubai to look for
what? Do what?
To look for a statement.
I don't know.
He wanted the Sheikh to write a statement.
They're going to look at the islands, Burj Khalifa.
Look, and I'm glad the Star has followed this through until the end.
Yep.
I don't think KINOTI was going anywhere with this story.
He said he was just going on holiday.
Yes, I think he has embarrassed country and probably has even embarrassed the head of state.
I think more so he's embarrassed himself.
Even himself.
He's become a national joke at this point.
Yes, because you talk about Aurora Kimwarer, you talk about $40 million being withdrawn from a small bank.
Fake gold.
No action has been taken, no prosecutions,
follow
no
up on that
convictions.
story. We don't know what happened and we're still waiting to find out what happened to that money.
Yeah, and I think we said it before. KINOTI is using System 1 methods. Where System 2 methods are required. So of course he's going to fail. He's using he's speaking with his mouth open. He's using his gut, which is failing him. I think he just needs to...
I think that something that was said in this article is a worth of note before I think it should be our winning headline. So before I say that, I think someone went and did an interview with the UAE envoy in Kenya and he then denied that their ruler lost 400 million to scammers in Kenya. And he said that if at all a person called Azandi Alizandi exists, then of course the Sheikh would refuse to have him interviewed because they don't want negative publicity. Why don't we ever think like that?
Absolutely.
We're always exposing ourselves to negative publicity.
The corruption stories come from government.
I think this has been your point the whole time. Like KINOTI has been exposing the government and it's going to end up biting us.
But it's not just KINOTI, even Haji. The Brotherhood of Law is really embarrassing this country.
It's so true.
I say we put this as our winning headline.
I would agree, It's lifted the veil of ignorance. It's given us a nice conclusion to a story that we thought would never end.
Yes.
I like it.
Absolutely.
We have a winning headline from the Star and on to our next segment, the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country. Just like the headlines, we have a 3-part criteria that we use to break down the cartoons for you. We ask ourselves, is the cartoon humorous or is it dry? Is the cartoon satirical or is it pessimistic? And finally, is the cartoon effective or just plain lazy?
No, yesterday...
I wish you hadn't started with that.
I say this so that we take it away very fast.
I am reverting back to my vow of silence when in reference to Ozone.
I think you gave Ozone.
Yesterday, you gave him the winning Ozone, cartoon.
Yes.
But and what did I say? It could change very quickly. And look what we've had. One day later, he takes 10 steps forward, 30 steps back.
Guys, I would like us to do this. Let's not describe this.
Why don't you want us to describe it?
It's tasteless.
It is very tasteless, yeah.
It's tasteless.
I mean, this cartoon
describing
is in reference...
is giving it a little bit of credit.
It's in reference to the discussions on whether we should increase the age of sexual consent or lower it. And here he's speaking about women like they're a piece of meat. I think it's tasteless. It's not...
You're really demeaning.
Well, the image is visible, so yeah. I say toss it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gado of the Standard.
I think Gado and
Ozone were sleeping.
Were somewhere last night having a drink.
I thought that's a good thing. You get inspiration. No. But the deeper down the barrel you go, the worse the
cartoon gets.
Precisely. But this you can describe.
Yes, that one we can.
Right. Very plumpy looking caricature of a man called Kibongo. Yeah, and he has a whistle in his mouth and he's trying to blow. But on the whistle, there's a magistrate or a judge who was sat on it, and he's wrapping, I don't know, there's toilet paper or masking tape.
Yeah, over what would make the sound of that whistle.
Yes, so he's literally not blowing anything.
Yeah.
Now, I don't like this from Gado, because I think he falls in the school of I don't know, civil society and that kind of thing. But I'm happy the courts did this, because you have many people in this country who call themselves whistleblowers.
He's made a career out of being a whistleblower. And Could you imagine?
You go spoiling other people's names. Yeah. I don't remember Chris Murungaru ever being prosecuted or convicted for corruption claims. All right. Now, it is good the courts charged him 27 million bob. Because it's a lesson. And I don't know why Kenyans really believe on anyone who calls himself a whistleblower.
Yeah. And worse yet, he went and public sourced for the funding.
For the 27 million. They started a crowdfunding situation.
Absolutely. You know,
shameless.
People don't even know why these people are whistleblowing. They are probably blowing the whistle on behalf of someone. Yeah. You know?
And I think it goes back to that whole point of what system are you using to make your intuitions and your broad statements? Are you using verifiable fact that will stand up to a court of law, or are you using intuition? Because I may suspect you're a bad person, and I may think that you're a bad person.
But
proving it is a whole other thing.
Don't run my name through the mud just because your gut is telling you something.
It's a lesson. It's a lesson.
Yep. All right.
Daily Nation.
Who's this? Dula.
Whoa. Governor Sang of Nandi County. Caricature of him.
Yes. Of two of him.
Of two of him.
Well, maybe three. There's someone we can't see.
No, that's actually
that's still him. Holding this.
Yes. He was seen cutting tea trees.
Tea bushes.
Tea bushes. and he was taken to court. So now the first image is of him with a hammer. Second is the head of the hammer falling
on him.
On him. And him clutching a parcel.
I think this is a fantastic cartoon.
I love it. It's funny. It references the protection of tea. Did you know you can't cut tea in our country? So, and it references...
Oh, you can't?
No, you can't. Hey, please do not be caught doing that.
But I think it also references how he's, shot himself in the foot with what he's trying to do.
But he did get good political mileage, and we have to...
I mean, I give him brownie points for that.
No, absolutely. This is one way he'll be re-elected in 2022.
Yeah. So what do you think about this? I think it's humorous. I think it's borderline satirical, and I think it's effective.
I think it's a good cartoon.
So this is our winning cartoon.
I would agree, yes.
And what is our final thought?
Final thought is inspired, today there is no, what do you call it?
What?
The one for yesterday.
What, there's no book?
No, that book I tried to mention.
Oh, algorithm.
Algorithm.
All right, yes. Tell us about our final thought, Joel.
Today's book is inspired by a book entitled The Natural Laws of Business. This one, by Richard Koch. And its caption is How to Harness the Power of Evolution, Physics, and Economics to Achieve Business Success. Yeah. And you know what I thought immediately? I was reading this book. Do you guys remember a preacher somewhere in Nairobi who decided to perform a miracle? And he called this guy in front of the crowd.
Yes.
And he told him to dip his legs into a bucket.
So that he can do an exorcism.
Yes, and he poured a little bit of water. and he started with
speaking
in tongues, and and the guy starts shaking. Kumbe, what he did is he went to that bucket of water and poured something called, is it potassium permanganate?
Yeah.
I'm not a scientist, but whatever.
Yeah. So what would happen is the water would turn red.
Yeah.
And
as evidence that something did leave your body.
Yes. So the crowd thought that blood was coming out, and that blood that was coming out was the demons.
Yeah.
So he was exercising demons, and the demons was turning. I mean, I looked at that guy and I said, this guy is very sharp.
It is very smart.
And
as morally wrong as it is, it's very smart.
It's very, very smart.
So is that your reference to using science for business?
Yes, and here's my point. you actually don't have to go to business school to learn ways of doing business. This guy, I am sure, has not gone to school.
The views of 2M in no way represent the fifth estate.
But he went to a chemist somewhere, poured some nice stuff, and the water turned red. I said, beautiful, fantastic.
All right.
Yeah.
I cannot.
TJ,
all right, let me
tell us about.
Okay, now let me ground this. Let me tell you about the book. So the author believes that there are many important business lessons to be learned from the fields of science, physics, evolution, and economics. So during his extensive research into the natural laws and the patterns that are to be found within them, he set out on a mission to decipher these rules into valuable and meaningful ideas to be applied into the world of business. So I think the question is asked, what does he hope to achieve by connecting science with business?
Yes.
And he says in the book, if we accept the world revealed by modern science, we can better understand the laws that dictate business success or failure.
Yes.
And therefore we will be able to increase business effectiveness.
Yes.
So in the book, he says that science has over time revealed universal patterns which predict and explain how the world really works.
Yes.
So he identifies the most important and relevant of these patterns, rules and relationships, and that is why he calls them natural laws.
Yes.
So he says in order for something to be a natural law of business, a principle must satisfy 3 criteria. 1, it must be a coherent theory of how things work with wide acceptance by scientists. 2, it must transcend the discipline where it originated from and cross over into more than one scientific discipline. And 3, it must be capable of application to business, because the book is indeed about the natural laws of business. So the book is divided into 3 parts. We have physical laws, biological laws, and non-linear laws. So I think what we're going to do is each one of us will take a principle from these laws and just give a short breakdown. So I'll take the first one. It is a physical law, and it comes from Newton's 3rd law. It is a fifth estate favorite. It says, to every action there is always an opposite and equal reaction. More complicated, or another way it can be put, the mutual actions of 2 bodies are always equal and directed to contrary parts. That's very heavy, so we'll go with the
evidence of the time in which that law was written.
So I think we'll just go with the easier one that we know very well. So he says that we can see these things in the way that we organize society, how you have the opposite and equal reaction. So capitalism will produce the opposite reaction, which is socialism. And in trying to make socialism work, you will produce a neo-capitalist revival. So luxury products cause a demand for stripped down economic and cheap products. And in banking, I think that we see that a lot in Kenya. Very expensive, or banks that exclude the majority.
Are you talking about Barclays, low key?
Okay.
There was a minimum balance.
All right, let's be honest. Barclays, they had a minimum starting balance. And what that ended up doing is creating an opposite reaction, which was equity, that was aimed at the masses.
And didn't have any balance and very low charges.
Now that you mentioned that, I have a story for you.
All right.
Somewhere in Muranga, some time back, there was a building society, and there was the biggies like Barclays, banks that were headquartered in London, and the spaces in the London banks were very well appointed, nice floors and all that, but also very intimidating to the residents of that place. Now, one gentleman, I'll not name him, saw it fit that there are a lot of unbanked people in this place, and he created a bank that that replicated Force's front office service agency, whatever they're called. Now he made that bank, the color scheme of that bank, to look like the soil. Now, when people were going to bank in those halls, right, they could even enter barefoot, and with slippers, you know. But that is because he had seen an untapped potential. Look at the Equity today, probably the second biggest bank in Kenya, and those biggies who are headquartered in London are at number 6 or at number 7.
Exactly, and so that is the point of this law, that for every action there's an opposite and equal reaction.
Yes.
So very quickly I will say the lesson of this first law.
Yes.
You need to focus your energy on where you have an advantage.
Yes.
And you need to make sure that you are distant from your competitors.
Yes.
But also, if you find there's always an opportunity to be found in what the opposite is doing. So Equity was able to see that Barclays had a niche, but they were able to have a niche in the opposite direction, and they have really they capitalized on that.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Ms. K.
I'm going to try and ground everything that you're talking about, and I will be talking about the biological principles. So this is where we're looking at how biology and the rules that are found in biology, because life in biological principles is predictable and there are certain things you've learned from them, can be applied in business. He focuses, at least in the beginning part, on Darwin. And Darwin is known for his book, The Origin of the Species, where he speaks about the theory of evolution. And in that, he talks about two things that are very important, I think, for life and for business. One of those things is competition, and the other thing is natural selection. So he says, and we know this rudimentarily, that the most complex, the most vicious are the ones that will survive, but also they're vicious because they adopt these principles from their parents. And he picks from all of this competition, natural selection, 4 business principles that you can apply in business. The first one is that products or ideas will be stronger or more likely to survive if they emerge from competition. Now, this competition can be with other products by themselves, or can be with other products in the market. So those that will survive and stand the test of time are those that compete. And Procter & Gamble used to do this a lot. They would have so many products and introduce them all, then all their individual brands will have to compete with each other. And the best brands then survive. Second law, he says, is that new product variants will arrive sooner or later, whether you introduce them or not. And that's the law of natural selection. We are always evolving and changing and mutating and making newer and better versions of ourselves. Now, if you do not take on that responsibility of evolving and mutating and becoming a better version of yourself, then you, better, improved you will emerge with your knowledge or not. And that leads you to point 3. Scatter new breeds around your core product. Fill up the potential product spaces so that that new breed, that newcomer, can't move into your niche. So here he talks about Barnes & Noble. So this is not a Kenyan example, but we can all understand. Barnes & Noble was a physical store that sold books. When the internet came up, they really didn't focus on it. So a new company came up that we all know. The company is called Amazon. So Amazon then now took up the market that Barnes & Noble had let go of and innovated around it. And if Barnes & Noble had just focused on the internet, Amazon would be the name of a river. Then finally he says...
a forest.
No, it is the name of a large river.
See, it is called Amazonia. That entire place is called Amazonia.
And finally, product and service improvement can and always should be accelerated. That all of this growth is a function of speed. For you to evolve, you have to do it quickly and always keep in time with the market. I think you have a final law, and it is from nonlinear systems.
Nonlinear systems, and it is an example. The 80-20 principle, right? And the 80-20 principle is it's derived from the Pareto Principle. And Pareto had written some works in Europe, and he discovered that in Italy, that 80% of the land was owned by 20% of Italians. 80%. Right? And his point was basically that maximum outputs can be realized with the least effort or the least inputs. So, for example, 80% of sales can be driven by 20% of customers. That 80% of crime can be driven by 20% of criminals who are probably Kikuyu. 80% of curry sales can 80% of curry sales can be driven by people who are mostly Indian.
20% of the population.
But I mean, and I want to ground it here. You see, we have this thing called the Big Four, and I don't mind it. I just think it could be done a little bit better. And if we are getting, and if we are going to get maximum results for it, I think we do get maximum results already from a certain service from a certain sector in this country, and that is the services sector. Now, if 63% of GDP of this country is just based on services, why can't we input services into the big four? It is a low-hanging fruit, correct? We can be able to say mobile money, human resource, hotel services, name it, whatever. Yes. We have it within our grasp. We can do we can take advantage of a process we call comparative advantage. Let's produce what we can very well, and let others who can produce TVs and steel and everything, we can buy it from them. But for as long as they come to our hotels, as long as they buy our banking services, we are good.
This is the Fifth Estate winning headlines. We have a winning cartoon from the Daily Nation and a winning headline from the Daily Star. Yes. Thank you to them. I think we enjoy your monologues and your speeches to us as the Republic. But I will say this, there are 5 steps to evolutionary success. And if at all you're going to want us to focus on low-hanging fruits, 1, you narrow the focus. 2, you stock in depth on what you've narrowed focus on.
Fantastic.
3, you buy cheap. Can we buy cheap in the services industry?
Yes.
4, you sell cheap. Can we sell it cheap?
Absolutely.
And finally, we dominate the category.
You already have.
If we can meet that criteria, then I guess we can have evolutionary success.
Yes.
Natural laws of business, a way for science to explain how business works.
Yes. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to Jay.
You want us to sing for you again?
No. See you tomorrow.